The station called it a minor orbital event, the kind of calm phrase that made the fur on Nora's neck rise. On Deck 9, the tiger cubs had learned a different language. They spoke in paws, in ears, in the soft chuff of courage shared when the lights flickered, and they had learned to fear one thing more than vacuum. Being left behind, they were small. 4 striped bodies, 4 to 5 months old. All round bellies and oversized paws that slid on polished alloy, they were also a pack, because the universe had made them that way. A single cub could not haul a food canister from the dispenser. A single cub could not sleep through the station's night cycle without hearing ghosts in the hum of the reactors. NORA had been their anchor, human, furless, soft hands, steady voice, eyes that looked straight at you like you mattered. She had found them in a damaged cargo pod drifting near the salvage lanes. Tiny heat signatures wrapped in torn, thermal foil. She signed the forms that said, non-sapient juveniles, then ignored the part that told her to transfer them to containment. Instead, she carried them to her quarters and whispered, "You're safe. I've got you," until their shaking stopped. For 3 months, she taught them rules that made sense. Stay close. Answer my whistle. If anything goes wrong, you go to Junction C. Always. She made a game of the station maps, tapping routes on the wall display while the cubs batted her fingers in yee-pee-pee-ed. Then, Nora disappeared. One shift, she walked them to the playpen, checked the latch, touched each forehead with 2 fingers, and promised, "I'll be right back." The next shift, she didn't return. Her bunk was empty. Her ID tag blinked offline on the internal net crew passed with clipped voices. "Humans come and go," an engineer muttered. "Pets get reassigned," a medic said. "Too fast. Protocol says the cubs are cargo," security added. And the word cargo felt like a blade. The cubs didn't understand the words, but they understood the way bowls arrived late. They understood the way doors closed faster. They understood the absence. A solar storm warning rose through the station like a fever. Magnetic interference. Power fluctuations. External comes blackout. The PA stayed cheerful while listing outcomes that made groan. Crew members swallow hard. Possible hull arcing. Possible emergency lockdown. For the crew, it meant safe rooms. For 4 cubs with no human, it meant the station becoming a maze of locked teeth. A broad-shouldered tech snapped a leash onto the pen gate. "Storm protocol," said, not unkind. "No roaming." The cubs pressed together as the lights flickered red, then returned in a sickly half-bright glow. They could smell ozone on the air. Junction C, Nora's voice lived in their bones. Always, when the alarm stuttered into static, the biggest cub, MILO, made the choice. He wedged his paw under the latch and pulled, the way NORA had shown him. Safi shoved with her shoulder. Taro bit the metal and growled like that. "Helped," little JUNO squeaked. Terrified, but kept pushing. The gate popped. The sound was small. The consequences were enormous. They ran. Pads slapped metal. Claws skittered. They rounded corners too fast and bounced off walls. But they kept moving, driven by the one map NORA had drilled into them. 3 decks down. Past hydroponics. Through the service corridor that smelled like algae and coolant, halfway there. The first lockdown door slammed shut. MILO hit it nose first and tumbled back. The others piled into him. A knot of stripes and panic. Above the sign flashed, "Sealed." Safi rose onto her hind legs and pawed at the access panel. It was too high. Taro jumped. Missed, jumped again. JUNO whimpered, the sound thin as thread. A tremor shook the corridor. Somewhere far away, metal screamed. MILO looked back the way they'd come, no humans. No NORA, only the long, red-lit hallway, stretching like an accusation. He should have turned around. He should have begged at a safe room door. But NORA had said Junction C, and if he abandoned that promise, then promises meant nothing. So MILO sat down in front of the sealed door and refused to move. The others crowded around him, sharing warmth they shouldn't have needed on a heated station. They waited as the storm crawled across the hull. The station's magnetic field bucked. Sparks danced behind ceiling panels over the intercom. A new voice cut through the static, strained but alive. Deck 9 juveniles. Report your location. It was NORA. Milo pressed his nose to the seam and yowled as loud as his small lungs could manage. The access panel blinked, dead, then flickered back. The door did not open. Then the airlock at the far end hissed. A figure stumbled through, moving against the shaking floor with impossible determination. A human in an insulated suit, visor scratched, shoulders rimed with frost from the maintenance shafts. She carried a thick coil of cable on one shoulder. In a portable power unit in the other hand, like it weighed nothing, NORA she saw them and dropped to her knees, even through her helmet. Milo could see her eyes shining. "I'm here," she said through the suit speaker. "I said I'd come back." Behind her, an emergency rover rolled into view, squat and ugly. Built for hull walk repairs, its cargo bay glowed with warm, amber light. Heat packs, blankets, food. A medical kit. NORA slapped the rover's side panel, and it unfolded into a portable shelter, like a metal flower blooming in the corridor. "I had to go outside," she said, words tumbling fast. "Command wanted all non-essential life moved to containment during the storm. They were going to take you to storage." Her jaw clenched. "Storage doesn't have backup heat." She lowered her helmet and pulled it off, sweat plastered. Her hair to her forehead, a bruise darkened one cheek. Still she smiled. Small, fierce, relieved, Milo launched himself at her chest. The impact knocked her backward, and she laughed, shaky and real. One by one the cubs piled onto her until even Taro shoved his head under her arm and stayed there. "I can't override the lockdown," NORA said. Already working, she snapped the cable into the portable unit, then jammed the other end into the access panel. The lights flashed. Green dot. The bulkhead groaned and slid open. On the other side, Junction C waited exactly where she'd promised. Reinforced alcove with an old emergency life support node and a manual oxygen valve. Place she'd chosen because it didn't depend on anyone else's permission. NORA guided them inside. Hands gentle, but urgent. "Warm up," she breathed. Then we moved to the shelter bay together. JUNO crawled into NORA's lap and purred so hard her whole body vibrated.saf. I sat near the doorway, watchful. Milo stayed close enough to touch, because he needed to be sure she was real. NORA exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for months. "I didn't leave you," she said softly. "I got pulled into an EVA repair team. We were sealing arcing panels before the storm peeled them open. I fought for this rover in this power unit. You told me you'd be fine without me." Her eyes hardened. "I've seen what fine means when paperwork is involved." She looked at them, counting as if the number kept her standing. "You're not cargo," she said. "You're my pack." The station groaned again. Lights dimmed. NORA didn't flinch. She lifted 2 fingers to her lips and whistled. Sharp, clear, the sound that meant, "Follow me, trust me, we survive." 4 heads lifted. 4 tails rose. 4 bodies pressed closer. Outside, the crew would wait behind sealed doors and call it responsible. Inside, a human sat with 4 tiger cubs and made a different kind of law. The pack endures because someone chooses it. Again and again, no matter how hard the universe tries to pry them apart. *subscribe Neon Cub Tales for more HFY stories. Like this video if you felt that storm moment. Comment your favorite scene and why. Which cub was your favorite, Milo? Sci-Fi, Taro, or JUNO? Do you trust NORA after that return? Share this with one friend who loves emotional sci-fi. Thanks for watching.